Support for Digging Deeper comes from the Penn State Alumni Association, connecting alumni to the university and to each other. The Alumni Association is powered by pride. Learn more at alumni.psu.edu. And from viewers like you, thank you.
Hi, I'm Elisa Vasquez. Sports have always been an important part of the college and university experience. In fact, this year marks the 150th anniversary of college football. But these days, there is a new college sports trend emerging on campuses all over the country, esports. But what exactly are esports, and just how popular have they become? On this episode of Digging Deeper, Penn State President Eric Barron talks to Paul Mangucci, founder of the Penn State League of Legends Club, and Gabriella Richard, faculty advisor to the Penn State Esports Club, about the rise of esports.
What an interesting topic. So maybe we should just begin by what are esports?
Sure. I mean, well, the technical term is electronic sports, and they stand for competitive gaming or gaming as a spectator sport.
Yeah, and it can be done, anywhere. It could be done in your basement. It could be done live on stage in front of, thousands, hundreds of thousands watching online. It's great how versatile it is, and the entertainment that's come from it.
And is this any video game that's competitive? Anything where we're pitting one person against another person and, yep, that's an e-sport? Or does the word sport have some other particular kind of meaning?
That's a great question. I would say that's evolved over time.
Yeah.
So the esports term is a little bit of a newer thing. As far as I can see, it originated in Korea in the early 2000s. But now anything that's under the umbrella of competitive gaming is considered esports, even all the way back to 1972. Space War, which was a game invented at MIT, the first documented esports tournament happened at Stanford amongst students, and they were competing for high scores. And so that's where the origination of the term came. Asteroids, Space Invaders, those kinds of games
are all part of it.
Scene. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. You said the competitive umbrella. Is there a formality to this? National organization, international organization, these are the games that are anointed, or as long as it's competitive and gaming, this could be good?
Yeah, so it's generally an umbrella term. It gets used, very lightly for a bunch of different games. And yeah, I mean, again, umbrella term, it can be used for any type of, casual or competitive-based game. As long as it's played in that competitive environment, it usually gets put under that blanket term.
So the key is competitive environment.
Yes.
Yes.
But otherwise, Penn State is a club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're a part of this club. You're the advisor. So do you sit there and say, okay, we want to do this particular game, Space Invaders or something like that, and you collect other competitors? It's inside Penn State, or you're competing with people at other universities?
Yeah.
Or are you setting up competitions?
So generally, it'll be within the university throughout the year. But during the year, we have 2 to 3 intercollegiate events where we'll invite schools, generally other Pennsylvania schools, as well as Big Ten schools, to come compete against our top teams. And yeah, I mean, usually it'll be done in that environment where it's within Penn State's community itself, but we do have a few times a year.
And out of curiosity, how many Penn State students might participate in a intra-Penn State set of teams?
Yeah, within Penn State, on competitive teams, we probably have around 100 students that play on competitive teams.
Right.
But for standard events that we have where anyone's welcome to compete, we'll have anywhere from 250 to 350 students on campus playing.
Okay, and then if you have 2 or 3 competitions that are multi-university, How many people are participating?
I'd say the easiest benchmark is Rutgers actually has the largest intercollegiate tournament on the East Coast yearly, and that usually pulls around 1,000 to 1,500 students across the Big Ten to come compete.
So a significant number. So now, does this mean their favorite games?
I would say in this era, yes, there are. So the standout games are Overwatch, League of Legends, which really...
So maybe you could just say what each kind of is
Sure.
like.
Right.
How many favorite games are there?
I would say League of Legends started to set the stage for collegiate esports, in part because it was a free-to-play game. It was a team-based game. It's called a multiplayer online battle arena, so a MOBA, meaning that you're on a team of 5 in the case of League, other games at 6 players. Each has a specialty area and a skill.
Each player has a skill.
Yeah, so they're specializing and taking on a certain component and then working together as a team. And he can talk more about this because this is a game that he specializes in. But there are other games like Overwatch, which has some MOBA-like elements. You work as a team, you have healers, you have tanks, you have more offensive characters, and you're competing against another team. Then there are also the 1v1 games, so like the fighting games. It's one person versus another who wins. I think those are the major ones that have stood out now. So Smash, Super Smash Brothers is a big one these days. Rocket League, which is more of like a team-based racing car / soccer game. But you could talk more about League because I really think they set the stage.
Yeah, I really love to compare League of Legends to a standard sport where it's a 5-on-5 game, almost similar to basketball, where there's a lot of team play elements to the game behind just clicking and pressing the buttons. The main objective of the game is to destroy the enemy's base, and there's a bunch of things that you have to do in between to be able to get to that objective. But yeah, I mean, these games have a lot more of a macro element behind the face value of it, and it's very interesting. And as Dr. Richard mentioned before, something that's so great about all these diverse games that are being introduced in esports is we have the opportunity to really have a unique viewing environment when you're there live in the arena, where some games you may be able to have 5 players versus 5 players up on a stage, but when it comes to a fighting game or a sports game where both players are allowed to see the same screen at the same time, you can really get creative where you put them in the arena. You can have them in a boxing environment where you have them right on the stage. You can put them right in with the crowd. So it definitely makes it almost a more interesting and hyped up version of sports, in my opinion.
So a spectator in this case is in an arena, or could be just online.
Yes.
Yes.
And when you do this at Penn State as a part of the club, or is it a spectator sport in the physical, everybody in the room sense?
Yeah, so we do it very similar to how the professional leagues do it. We have the students play on campus that are participating. We have anyone at the event who wants to watch live, they're allowed to watch as well as our own student broadcast team that goes and casts the game online to Twitch TV. And people at home or families can go, watch their students play from home. So.
Yeah, so now I have 2 questions. How different is this than 2 decades ago or 5 decades ago?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, nowadays it's a much more mainstream element to it, where I'd say, in the history of esports, one of the big things you'd put in a textbook about gaming is when Drake decided to play Fortnite with Ninja on stream. And kind of bringing that mainstream element to it where everyone nowadays doesn't see it as a waste of time, where they see it more as a career opportunity.
A competitive opportunity.
Exactly. There's far more opportunities within it, and people are way more accepting of it. If you go to Korea, the cover athlete of New Balance is an esports player, similar to if you see Tiger Woods on a Nike ad here in the United States. So I think the culture around it really shapes now, how accepting everyone is.
There's a sense of how competitive it is, not just somebody in a dark room and their computer screen. Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I'd also like to add to that, because I think a couple of things have made this more widespread than the former waves of competitive gaming / esports. One is what happened in South Korea in the early 2000s, where they created the Korean Esports Association because there were so many young people after the economic downturn that were really good players, and they were competing, and then they realized that there was an audience for this, and thousands of people wanted to watch these young people who became superstars play. So that's really the evolution of the arena, the sports arena, watching people play. And they've had major tournaments that helped to influence what happened in the United States about 10 years later. So 2004 was probably their biggest Blizzard, which is a gaming company, sponsored tournament of StarCraft. But then the other thing that was happening in Korea that started to happen here is that these smaller television channels were broadcasting gameplay. And here in the United States, after Twitch TV became a big thing, live streaming your gameplay, around 2011 is when it came out. 2013 is when it became really popular. When people realized they could watch what these outstanding pro players were doing and learn from them and teach others, or even people that are amateurs could play and become their own personalities and celebrities. That took this to a different level, where it really became a form of entertainment that a lot of young people are spending most of their time engaging in.
I really want you to know that I'm feeling older by the minute here as I realize what has been transpiring over quite a period of time that I've had no participation in. But what's Twitch TV?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Twitch TV is a streaming service site similar to many of the ones that we
Is
see
it all
today.
just for gaming?
Yeah, it's all for gaming, and interestingly enough, now sports are starting to decide to buy in and add real traditional sports to Twitch TV. You have I believe Monday Night Football decided to do a 4-game trial where
So they're blending.
yeah. So they're starting to attack that market of the gamer to really get them interested in sports, and kind of have the new generation of athletes make sure that they're interested in online sports as well as in person.
So is this where you have to go, or are there other places you can go to watch?
Oh, you can go on YouTube as well, Facebook Live. I know Mixer is a big new live streaming service. So there are different outlets, but Twitch has kind of cornered the market because they started as being exclusively gaming. Now there are also people that stream what they call creatives. So they teach how to code or how to create artwork, which is really fun. Some people teach how to use musical instruments. So a lot of people go on Twitch to learn, to engage with their favorite streamers. In fact, what's really interesting about Twitch is for the first time, Twitch viewership was higher than Monday Night Football in January 2018.
Wow.
So I think that's really where
Wow.
traditional athletics is
Well,
trying to start
I'm
bridging
going to
that
come
gap.
back to that, but maybe for a minute we could get into the mode of a gamer.
Sure.
And how it is that, so here's, I see the word sports and I'm seeing somebody practice, and maybe they're doing weight training and nutrition training and these different components where they're constantly practicing and preparing. Is this hard work? Is this fun, or is this hard work?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you have to have the exact same drive if you want to be a professional athlete. Something with us on Penn State's campus alone, we have mandatory 3 days a week going to the gym. You have to have your mind and body right to be able to compete, whether it be in video games or traditional sports. We have practices all week long. We have matches on the weekends. So, what we like to say to our students that participate is that it's like you're taking another 8 credits of classes that you're trying to put onto your schedule. So you have to make sure that you're committed.
Take it seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
And then practice?
Yeah, so we will scrimmage other top universities. There's even ESPN AP polls for the top
Rankings?
colleges. Yep. So last year, within League of Legends, Penn State broke into the top 25, which is great for our program, where without any athletic backing, our program has been able to break into the top 25. Usually about 10 to 15 of those schools have a varsity
and is
program.
every other university a club, or are some universities actually fielding a team?
Yeah, so on most campuses right now, it's still a club environment.
Yes.
But we've seen a huge breakthrough in varsity programs popping up across the United States. Notably in our area, Harrisburg University just started their varsity esports program. And they're one of the top competitors in all of collegiate esports now for almost every major title out there.
And so what does that mean for them to be part of a varsity squad? They have a coach?
Yeah, so they have coaches, they have managers, they have nutritionists, they have sports psychologists. You know, they have their practices and everything. They go to class. You know, they're student athletes. Usually, it'll be scholarship opportunities, whether it be partial or full ride. So,
does that mean that Harrisburg has revenue that comes from this? Harrisburg?
Well, I think that that model is unknown at this time, whether there's revenue. What we are seeing is that at this point in time, it's primarily these smaller colleges and universities that have created varsity programs. A lot of the bigger universities and the Big Ten are focusing more on a student organizational model. There's also now a national organization for collegiate athletics, which has come out of the National Organization for Intercollegiate Athletics. So really trying to formalize this in a better sense, trying not to get groups to compete with each other, trying to enforce standards around scholarships, prize money,
Practice time.
making
sure that you're a student while you're doing all of this.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say there are a couple of universities, larger universities, that have bought into the varsity model, one of them being Miami University in Ohio and the other being University of California, Irvine. UC Berkeley has created a partnership with one of the big Overwatch teams. So there's actually an Overwatch league of professional players, and it's big business there. So they're partnering with universities.
Mean you can make a living doing this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you make a good living doing this?
Yes, definitely. And the great thing about it is it can be in multiple aspects. You know, you don't have to go the professional gamer route to be able to make a living off of it. You can stream live on Twitch TV, you know, by yourself, whether it be playing competitively or casually, and be able to make a living for yourself. Sometimes, as we've seen, even better salaries than those who play professionally.
Because you've got somebody watching and there's a clicker going there?
There's donations, advertisements that you can show on your channel, partnerships.
Subscriptions.
Subscriptions, okay, that's really remarkable. So now let's think about your aspiration for a minute here as a gamer. So you're proud of the fact that as a Penn State club you've broke into the top 25, you're seeing yourself with a sort of national championship, world championship, and it's League of
Legends.
And you make it to the championship. What's that environment like?
Yeah, so something great for League of Legends is Riot Games, the creators of League of Legends, do quite a bit to support the infrastructure for collegiate esports. So what happens for us is our players are on scholarship with the Big Ten network to play during the year against other Big Ten schools. From that, the top 2 teams will move forward to play in to make it into the League of Legends finals. And the top 8 colleges across the United States go play the finals in the live broadcast studio at Riot Games headquarters in LA, where the professionals play their weekly matches. So it really allows the college students, you know, to get their drive to become a professional after college, as well as, you know, even if they don't decide to go that route, have a really fun time being able to participate.
And does a U.S. winner get to play internationally?
Yeah, so the winners of the North American Collegiate championship for League of Legends gets to travel abroad to usually China is where you'll find many international college tournaments.
And so you're in an arena and you have people watching on Twitch TV and other ways. How many people are watching the championship game, the World Championship?
Yeah, so if we're talking about the largest viewership, a few years ago, I believe it was the 2016 League of Legends World Championship. It was hosted in Beijing's National Arena. Seats about 80,000 people. That sold out in under a minute. And with around 330 million concurrent viewers online. So if you put that into a sports aspect, the only two sports that have had viewership higher than that is one FIFA World Cup final and a cricket final.
Wow.
So, and then it comes in with the 2016 League of
Legends.
So
this is not your dad's esport, if I can say something like that. So, you know, one last question. 100 years from now, what will we be looking at?
Well, I think it's really pointing towards how a lot of things are becoming more ubiquitous, more online. So a lot of people, I think this is the future direction, being able to go across the world without necessarily leaving your home. So I see a lot more in esports taking on that viewership aspect that people like about sports.
Yeah, and for me, I see it just at the forefront of entertainment, just in general, you know. VR is something that we're just starting to touch, but in the future, I don't doubt that that will be at the front of esports as well, getting physical activity, you know, allowed into the games themselves. So, and again, one of the great things about esports in general is if you don't have that physical capability, you can still be a pro.
Yeah, that's true.
Wonderful. Fascinating topic. I think most people have no idea. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So thank you so much, President Barron. Very interesting topic. Esports, not something that everybody knows about. And something that Paul really emphasized was how esport gamers are really similar to athletes with the time, the dedication, matches every weekend. Do you think that esport gamers are comparable to athletes?
You know, obviously there's some parallels. The notion of the practice and even that you would have a coach and that you would have mentors and, as he said, psychologists, and even this notion that this is competitive enough that you have to be paying attention to your physical self and your nutrition. So I thought that was really fascinating. Obviously the skill set's very different, but it does have some other similarities.
Yeah, especially because he said League of Legends, compared it to a basketball team. So I thought the parallels were really interesting.
So not just a one-on-one. And I guess I always imagined that this was you know, you against all these other players. But when you enter into this notion of a team competition as well, it changes the dynamic considerably.
Yes, and we have 100 students that are competitive esport gamers, but not a lot of people at Penn State know about the Esports Club. Last year, the global revenue for esports in total was $906 million, so it's a profitable business.
Truly.
Why don't you think that Penn Staters really know about the Esports
Club?
I
don't know. It may be they hear esports and don't think it's a sport as opposed to a competition. So there may be something there just with the terminology. Or if you listen to them describe the types of games, I suspect these are things that don't necessarily fall off very many people's lips as they're sitting there talking. So you sort of find yourself imagining what is that game all about? How does that function? On the flip side of it, here are competitions that lead to millions of people watching and significant revenue, and filling an arena so that you can be there during the competition. So my suspicion is if that's the case, you'll start to see organization build and leagues build and universities having a different role if our students are starting to do it themselves. So I think we will be led rather than us leading.
And he also talked about going off of being led rather than leading.
Yeah.
Penn State has already, last March, they held the Nittany Invitational, so a competition for eSport gamers. Do you see Penn State continuing to hold these types of competitions?
My suspicion is if the students are keenly interested in it, if the competition becomes something that that increasingly has structure around it, that people can make careers out of it, it's going to be hard not to see it supported more and grow.
Yeah. And with the growth, do you think that more Penn State students, because there can be kind of a stigma sometimes around gamers, will be attracted to esports regardless of what they feel like their position should be on campus?
Yeah. Recognition, careers, income, viewers, those are characteristics that attract people to a lot of different things, and but probably that visibility isn't here yet, where people start to understand what's going on, why it's going on, and what the competition is like. And so even though in the world that is growing considerably, probably on the campus we have a ways to go before people have a sense of, oh, so this is what this is all about.
Yeah, well, looking forward to Penn State being great in the world of e-gamers.
Yep.
And thank you so much, President Barron, for
My pleasure.
talking today.
Thank you.
Support for Digging Deeper comes from the Penn State Alumni Association, connecting alumni to the university and to each other. The Alumni Association is powered by pride. Learn more at alumni.psu.edu. And from viewers like you, thank you.